A lot more to come on First Take. Is the NFL being unfair to defensive players? Why one safety is calling the NFL a joke. And find out why the reigning MVP is under more pressure at home against Action Jackson. Plus, you don't want to miss our expectations for Daniel Jones with Big Blue. First Take, it's in the house. Let's get it.
Pro Bowl safety Jamal Adams blasted the NFL for fining him for a late hit on Baker Mayfield during Monday Night Football. Adams, who was called for roughing the passer on the play, was fined $21,000 for the penalty. Adams tweeted this: "This league is a damn joke. I just got fined $21K for this hit. I signed up to play football, not two-hand touch. BS. I don't give a damn about these soft rules protecting quarterbacks. I'm going to play my brand of football every time I step on the field." Shaking my head. We should note that Monday, Adams was also upset after being sidelined late in the fourth quarter for committing penalties on back-to-back plays. We now welcome in former NFL cornerback Dominique Foxworth in the house. Good to see you.
Great to be here.
I don't know what it is about Jamal Adams. Like, another player could make the same comment. I'd be like, stop. Something about Jamal Adams, but easy to root for.
No question. Stephen A., getting back to Adam. Sorry to interrupt you. Getting back to Adams' comments on the NFL, is the league fair to defensive players?
No, not at all. I think everybody knows that. And I think that, where it really, really heightens or gets your eye up or your back up just a little bit is in this regard. The more stringent and the more tough you are on defenses, the more you compromise them, obviously it facilitates more points being scored. The more offense you have, the more points that's being scored. All of a sudden, you got fantasy football playing public going crazy and things of that nature. In other words, there's tangible evidence that it's more profitable for the NFL to compromise defenses because the more offense you have, they hide behind entertainment and all of this other stuff. But ultimately, that numbers game that you're playing facilitates things for fantasy football lovers and beyond. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and by the way, it's not just in football. If you recall, Max, they did it in basketball as well. And as a result, more points were being scored. Remember the bad boy Pistons and then Knicks, Pat Riley's New York Knicks or whatever. NBA said, we don't want that. That's not an attractive brand of basketball. So they sort of adopted more tendencies that will facilitate more offense being generated, got some more of those European players coming from overseas into the NBA. And because of it, the NBA put up more points. The game was considered more appealing to the eye. Obviously, you see ratings, revenue. The global iconic brand that it is has just been flourishing and flourishing more and more. And in a roundabout way, that's basically what the NFL has been doing. I remember last year, it was around mid-November, I think, I read an article where it was talking about, at that particular moment in time, 31 quarterbacks in the National Football League was completing about 60% of their passes. Okay? About 60% of their passes. I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, you just recognize how unfair it is and how these defensive players have been compromised. But I still put some of the onus on the defensive players in this regard. You know what time it is. You know what they're doing, and you know why. So you have to do a better job of policing yourself. I think Jamal Adams had a point with that hit. It was right in the chest area. It wasn't to the head. It wasn't even too low, that kind of stuff. But it was at the quarterback. And when you do that during a week where Drew Brees goes down, Big Ben Roethlisberger goes down, there's questions about Cam Newton, Sam Darnold is out with mono and what have you. If it's not attractive as a league if the quarterbacks are endangered even more so than usual. So that's just the way it is.
Of course, it's not fair to defensive players. It's not designed to be fair to defensive players. The rules are designed to get scores of 45-38, not 10-6. That's why the rules are there, because that equals revenue and ratings and revenue if you have high-scoring games. Offense sells in every league that you mentioned, Stephen A., and that's why the rules favor the offense the way they do. The quarterback is the commodity, right? So they're protecting him like with every single thing they can. And I understand the wisdom of that. But I totally agree with Jamal Adams here. Number one, on two counts, with roughing the passer in particular. Number one, it's BS. Like the Chiefs and the Patriots last year, the regular season game was decided because the linebacker didn't want to put his hands on Tom Brady when he got to Brady, and Brady waltzed into the end zone. That's not tackle football. Like, do we want to play tackle football? Yes or no? By the way, I didn't have a problem with Bountygate Because as long as the coach isn't saying do something illegal, if the coach is just saying, I want you to hit this dude so hard you knock him out of the game within the rules, that is part of the game. Those are the kind of body shots that, you want your players playing in a full contact sport. And on the other count, and Dominique, you can go off on this, hasn't worked this year. Look at all the injuries to quarterbacks. Yeah. So if it's BS and it's not working, Jamal Adams got a point.
I got a few points. So you're right, it hasn't worked. None of those plays were penalized that the quarterbacks got hurt on. Like Drew Brees slapped hands with Aaron Donald. You can't do anything to stop that. Sam Darnold got mono. What are you going to do?
I'm sorry, Dominique. What did you say did not work? I'm sorry, I lost you.
I'm saying that the rule changes haven't seemed to work to protect the quarterbacks in a way that we want. And we can't continue to change rules. I don't know how we're going to legislate out a hand slap from Aaron Donald to Drew Brees, or how we're going to legislate a way to keep Sam Darnold from getting hurt. Like, we can't make a rule that there's no kissing. Like, he got mono. We can't do anything.
No spin the bottle that. After six periods,
What are we going to do? And I think
we don't know officially that it was because of kissing.
Well, either way, just to lower the risk, that's fine. But what are we going to do? You brought up basketball as an example and saying that it got more profitable. I understand that people want to do that, but I could bring up baseball as a counterexample where people believe that the ball has been juiced, and people also believe that has made the game more boring. So I think that there is some danger to have some unforeseen consequence when you're trying to doctor a game in this way. And I do have a problem with them making it harder and harder for defensive players. We recognize that this is an entertainment product, and you want your stars there. You want the Brad Pitts or Leonardo DiCaprio or whoever else, the star guy. You want him to be there on Monday night, Sunday night, because more people will watch, which means more money in all of our pockets. We recognize that, but guys are out here pump faking. Like, there was nothing that Jamal Adams could do in that situation if we are playing tackle football, and it's been inconsistent. The rulings have been inconsistent along the way. The players want some consistency, and it's also just feels unfair to put the obligation on the defense to keep the quarterbacks healthy. Why is it not the quarterback's obligation to keep themselves safe?
Right, real quick, there's a difference between a hard hit, which Jamal Adams put on a quarterback, and extra sauce, right? When you take the quarterback and the play's over and you drive him into the ground. I get saying no extra sauce, but just extra sauce on the hit itself, stop it. He hit him hard. It's what he's supposed to do.
Hold on, Max. That's where I was going. That's where I was going because I want to ask Dominique this question because he played. Here's the deal, Dominique. Max is right about the extra sauce. In other words, when you're hitting somebody and you're landing on them on purpose and putting the weight of your body into the ground to them, you gotta try to avoid that. But outside of that, I think what the NFL should do with defensive players is simply sit here and go like this. We are going to be extra hard on y'all. Any headshots or any shots too low. But anything above the knee and below the neck, we're going to step back and let y'all play football. I think if they did that with defensive players, I think you'll find a situation where you could actually encourage guys to stay around a little bit longer because I think the injuries will dissipate dramatically if you really focus on enforcing that more than anything else. What do you say to that, Dominique?
But, I mean, I think players are fine if the rules are consistent and they're out there. We recognize that it's never going to be fair for defenders from pass interference all the way down to these hits. We know that, and that's fine. But as long as you apply the rules consistently, which I don't think they've been doing, things would be easier. But it kind of frustrates me that every year it seems like we're adding new rules and more limitations on defense, making it more their responsibility to keep the quarterback safe. No, I understand. I'm fine with you on that.
I'm talking about scaling back, Dominic. I'm saying if I sit up there and I literally, and as a league, I zero in on focusing on you, making sure that your shots are below the chin and above the knee. If I focus on that, and that is what I'm penalizing headshots or shots that are too low to the knees or below, and I'm really focused on that, but I'm lenient on everything else. I think that could go a long way.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it would go a long way, but I think players are already doing that. Like, we can't pick out a ton of times when people went low on quarterbacks or went to their head. I don't see the injuries coming from that. That's not what's happening. The injuries are coming from quarterbacks running with the ball and not wanting to go down, and from occasionally a guy landing on him. Like, that's the Nick Foles injury was because Chris Jones landed on him, and that, frankly, that one wasn't penalized. And then the other injuries we talked about were not these type of plays.
Yeah, but the thing about it is when you talk, it's one thing to talk about the injuries. It's another thing to talk about finable offenses. And that's what the problem is. Nobody has a problem with the injuries because that comes with the game. It's when the injuries are coupled with finable offenses where you're looking at a guy saying you didn't have to do that. If guys are getting hit legitimately below the chin and above the knee and the injuries happen, you're not going to see the fan base or anybody else complaining about that.
Right.
You're going to be like, that comes along with it and everybody's good.
There's a difference between that guy is hurt and that guy is injured. The injuries that people are really concerned about right now, long term, are head injuries, CTE. We read all about it, the whole thing. And in terms of a playing career, it's the knee. I think it's a great idea. In other words, as a point of focus, where the refs are instructed every year, right? Point of focus should be hit them as hard as you want, above the knee, below the neck. Focus on that. I think that's a great idea.
Play. And then let them play.
Yeah, I don't think that matters to them.
After that, let them play.
I know we're speaking about this from a defensive perspective, but you guys all mentioned early on that this is about business. This is about making money. They don't want their stars to get hit at any cost. They don't want to get hit in the chest. They don't want to get hit in the leg. The Monday